What's up, guys? This is my video for 20 something entrepreneurs who are millionaires. I didn't make my first million. I made my first million when I was like 21. I built my first six-figure company when I was 20. But I think like an important thing is to realize that, you know, when you're in your 20s, that's when, you have your business, right? It could be generating millions a year or making like six figures per year. That was the time I used to get my education. Because I don't want to say that most entrepreneurs are garbage entrepreneurs. Whether if you're in your 20s or 30s, this is the time you should be using to get your education. Figuring out the formula for success in business. You know, um, because now I'm a 31-year-old, like billionaire, like multi millionaire slash billionaire, and it's an important thing to note that most of you guys, whether if you're in your 20s or 30s or even 40s, don't waste your time doing the wrong things. You know, you really do want to be upgrading your methodologies and upgrading and upgrading and upgrading so that by the time you're like 40 or 30 or 40 or even 50, you're making a comfortable amount of money, you know, so that, I used my 20s to get my education so that at the age of literally 29, I became like a fucking billionaire. But a lot of you like 20 something entrepreneurs, you're kind of like dooming yourself to be making not much more than a few million a year. Don't become like a fucking garbage entrepreneur. Don't don't think shit is sweet doing the things that you're doing right now. You want to be gaining skills in many different arenas. My first successful business was an Amazon store. You know, understand that basically half the shit that is working right now in business is not going to be working in 20 years. Like Amazon stores now, I actually trust Amazon less and less as time goes on. Because Amazon pretty much lets anybody sell any trash product on their fucking website. And mostly it's probably the more inexperienced entrepreneurs that are selling like this trash from China on Amazon.com through Amazon FBA. I just have words for you. What used to work back when I was fucking 16 is no longer really working today. Affiliate marketing, you know, uh, back in fucking 2015, you could throw any like generic product onto Amazon.com, and then it turned into a thing where you had to attach like a late brand to your product in order to make it sellable, in order to create a successful business on Amazon. And then it's my prediction that in about 15 years, Amazon is going to be like a dead issue. It's not going to be a way that you could make really good money selling on Amazon. You know, in 15 years, it's going to be a thing where building a successful business on Amazon is going to be just as difficult as building like a real business, you know. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is broaden your categories and broaden your knowledge base so that when the well runs dry, doing the things that we do today, you know, I'm still looking at maybe like doing a little bit of drop shipping like in my free time, building like an Amazon store like in my free time. But pretty much as time goes on, 10 years ago, building an Amazon store was like fucking easy money. Now it's like more difficult because people don't trust Amazon as much. I'm just saying, life is not as short as the older people like to say it is. Yeah, life this past decade for me has went by like fucking 1 year. Like a decade goes by for me now like one fucking year. So yeah, like life is short, but in the grand scheme of things, when you're in suffering, life can be pretty fucking challenging and difficult. So it's just my advice to say, like, broaden your categories of how you make money. Is when I was coming up, the common sense was that millionaires have at least around 7 streams of income. You know, be prepared to live off of investments because if your current business takes a shit, or if the curvature of your business goes down, if the profitability of your business goes down, you just remember that half the shit that we used to rely on and use fucking 15 years ago is no longer like even a thing today. There's a few like existing businesses from fucking 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? There's like a few existing businesses from 20 years ago that still work today, but you have to always be prepared for things to change rapidly, you know. So if you have like a business that you have employees and overhead and stuff like that, and let's say you're making like 10 million a year, prepare for that number to go down to like 1 million a year in like a 10-year period of time. So always be building. My thing is I release a new product at least like once a year. You know, what's today? For me right now is Sunday. So tomorrow morning at precisely like 7 o'clock a.m., I'm gonna start cold calling businesses for my one of my main businesses called Business in a Box, where I divulge like every current method of making money in business. And I charge $10,000 to teach people how to have a business. Is like an ultimate course on business, how to have a business in general. You know, um, so yeah, I'm fucking high off caffeine right now. Yesterday was my birthday, so I did some like shrooms that they sell at the store. They sell these like mushroom gummies like at the store that didn't really do nothing for me, but I have like jitters from like getting high yesterday, but I was acting real weird, but I didn't feel like the high like in my mind. So like um yeah, like also remember that like one bad night of drinking and one bad night of drugging or like whatever it is that you do, if you smoke weed, one bad experience like drinking or doing drugs is enough to sabotage like everything you've got going on. So is like that's one thing that I don't do a whole lot. I don't really like get high and drink and stuff. You know, even like playing with caffeine and stuff, you could like wake up, you could like have to, if you're playing with a lot of caffeine, you know, you could have to sleep for like fucking 40 hours and you wake up after 40 hours of sleeping and you've like lost a little bit of momentum, you know. So I don't really play with like caffeine and stuff all like that like anymore, you know. Like I drink coffee because I'm fucking addicted. And once you get into coffee and caffeine, your brain doesn't function the same without coffee. That's why people drink coffee. Is because once you start with the fucking coffee, the withdrawal effects from coffee is like you perform actually better with coffee. So I drink Maxwell House coffee, and pretty much, you know, um, yeah, like so always be broadening and expanding your education. So always be, you know, broadening your education, expanding your knowledge base, so that in 15 years, when your current business model takes a shit and there's like hella competition in your business, or if you have to take like a back seat in one of your businesses because of whatever reason, if you wind up like, you know, something happens and you wind up like, you know, be expanding your knowledge base and your horizons so that you could last forever in this shit, you know, and always be making like good money. Because for me, like I don't find passion in too much in life, you know. I have a passion for gaming, but I can't do that because I have like mouths to feed, you know. That once you have kids, things change like a lot, you know, like, and then the pressure's on. So like now you have mouths to feed, and now you have to be fucking responsible for more than just yourself and your own, you know, like greedy and selfish desires to fucking conquer and buy a mansion and fuck bitches. You know, the tonality of your career changes and your reasons change when you have kids, and now you basically have this obligation to this motherfucker, to this person that you created to be like a responsible father slash parent, and now and you have like mouths to feed, you know. um so pretty much, you know, is like, and keep in mind, you know, you can't outrun your past. You know, the people that you've known throughout your life, that you know throughout your life, it doesn't matter how big you get. It doesn't matter how important or big you get. Is like the people that you affected 20 years ago when you were nobody, you know, those people still have like a pull in your life like 20 years later, you know. So just be careful who and how you impact people. If you're like real young, you know, just be very careful who and how you impact, because I do have like a few people from my past that feel like somehow like I've done them wrong, you know, but that's not my fucking problem. Is the point is in junior high, in high school, I kind of let my education take like a backseat in my life because I wanted to preserve my mental bandwidth and save my energy for my career. And that's 100% the truth. So I sacrificed literally my education in order to rise above and rise ahead in life. So it's like now it's like fuck you, pay me, you know, type thing. It's like education is so important in life, and I have like a fucking fifth grade education, sixth grade education. I went on to college. I got a marketing certification. I got certified in personal training, sports nutrition, and marketing, and I'm working on a business management or business administration certification right now. And I want to go to like police academy to become like a police officer. Some to do like part time, because running businesses is not that fucking complicated, you know. If you set up your business in such a way where you have like all the free time in the world, I'm gonna see if I could work like as a police officer like part time, you know. So that's one thing I always wanted to do. I wanted to be in like the military sector, to be like a police officer, to be like a marine or in the army, but not like the Air Force or the Navy, you know. Um, Pretty much, you know, being a 20 something or a teenage entrepreneur is like you've got your whole life ahead of you to fuck it all up, you know. You've got like your whole life ahead of you to fuck it up, you know. And it's like I don't expect most of you guys, if you're like in your teens, to really understand the passage of time and how things change as time goes on, you know. Like when I was born, you know, we had like the original PlayStation, which the graphics were like very like choppy and simplistic and uh, like the original Nintendo, the Nintendo Entertainment System from like the fucking 80s. Like that's the video games that we played in my house. You know, and then when I was like 5 or 6 years old, my mom got me a PlayStation. And you know, fucking I've had a hard life, you know, and you know, if you're in your teens, you know, or 20s, you know, you don't realize like the futility of life and time. You know what I'm saying? You don't realize like the futility of time and life, and you don't realize that time goes by like fucking that fast. You know, like I just turned 31, and I've now been an entrepreneur for 28 years this year. Sometime this year will be like 28 years an entrepreneur. Okay, and then your past always like catches up with you. You know, like people think I'm such a bad guy. Like I don't really have too much to worry about. I'm like a mad decent guy. And you know, but people still hold that shit against me. The fact that I didn't pay too much attention in school. I was like, if you know me from like biology class, you know that I was interested in biology. But if you know me from like math class, you know that I didn't pay too much attention to like algebra. You know, what the fuck I need algebra for. I could just punch numbers into my calculator to figure out what I need to know in business. You know, God did not waste my time with anything that I don't need to know. So, history, American history, who the fuck even knows if what they're talking about in history class is even true? You know, how do they even know? You know, is like he say, she say that the white people took over America in 1492. Who even knows, bro? Who even fucking knows? Who even says it's the year 2026? How do we know? How do we know if Jesus Christ even existed? You know, to me, Jesus Christ and the idea of Christ is a metaphor for like the perfection of God. You know, Jesus Christ, the human being, did he even exist? I would like to consider myself like a Christ like figure myself. That one of my main priorities in life is like serving my fellow man, like sacrificing myself for my fellow man. Yeah, I want something in return. You know, who's to say Jesus Christ is this great fucking guy? Because my interpretation of Jesus Christ is that after he died on the cross and came back, he turned into this big fucking asshole. And like he stops in like he became like selfish. Yeah, like I could imagine like going to actually hell for 7 days. You know, you don't see sacrifice and humanity the same way that I would do anything to not go to fucking hell. You know, rather I could give a shit less about anybody but myself when it comes to like fucking hell for eternity. You know, have you ever been like in a emotionally shitty position for like 5 minutes? You ever like sat down in a chair and like Or you ever take like a vile sip of like fucking beer? I got like my King Cobra right here. You take like a vile sip of alcohol, and you're only like, the only reason is like, or like if you sit on your nuts as a man, or if you like stub your toe, like I don't want to be like burning in hell for eternity. You know, there's two passageways to heaven, everybody. It's living a miserable fucking life of adventure and experience, or living like a pitiful life of happiness and the pursuit of in the pursuit of joy. You know, is like I choose to live like a fucking miserable life of having things so that I have no regrets. That's the way I want to live my fucking life. But actually, it's better probably to not live the life of adventure, because then you're contending with God, and then when you contend with God, you probably rise against God and you defy all that is holy, and then you wind up in hell for eternity. So it's like people, think that money actually is a good enough reason to get sent to hell for all eternity. It's kind of funny because I have a shitload of money, and me, I'm not a Christian. I'm like fucking Catholic, which is different. Um, I basically am like a fucking devil worshiper, so my rules are different. Christians aren't allowed to make a lot of money. Christians aren't allowed to make a lot of money because that's the creed that they live by. Because Christians are a type of people that have to stand to be holy, means that you don't defy God, you don't contend with God, you're just this happy little person, right? Being Catholic is basically being a fucking devil worshiper in a way. Like, I am not a devil worshiper, but I am demonic. So, is like the my commitment to God is different than everybody else's. Is like I take a lot of risk in my life in the potential end times that are never going to happen. But you never know. Who knows who's standing over us, judging us, who this God guy really is. It's kind of funny. My relationship with God is really funny because I know him. I know like his alter egos and stuff, and he has a sense of humor. I know God's sense of humor, and he's really funny. So I'm like Roman, which means that I don't believe in Jesus Christ. If you believe in Jesus Christ, that means that you have to abide by a certain set of rules. Then there's like devil worshippers, which I do a little bit of devil worship, but I believe in God if I have a choice. Um, is like I love to see like the pitiful souls amongst us, like the ones who are just like dorks that feel like they're doing the right thing, like these suburban bred like fucking losers, like one day rise ahead and become like cool kids, because that was me. I made that transformation when I was like 6 years old, and You know, I don't like seeing people who define me go to fucking heaven for all eternity. But I tread lightly in the kingdom of God. You know, I just want money and for my family to be okay. You know, and then my job in the like divine scheme of things is like pretty cool. So so praise Allah, or whatever his name is. God is Allah, and God the same thing. Praise God. You know, um, yeah, like I pray with the rosary, but I don't believe in like Jesus Christ, because the rosary is like a sacred thing. As you like glide your hand up the rosary, you um like the depiction of Jesus Christ like hanging from the cross is like sacred for me, you know. That like God created a better life for us than Jesus Christ would have. As it comes full circle, you know, the 360 degrees, as it comes full circle, we actually have so much a better life than Jesus Christ would have given us if Jesus Christ was God. And actually, in my creed, we actually despise Jesus Christ. Not despise, but we pretty much hate Jesus Christ. Some people are confused. You know, God is God. The Most High God and is God. The first God is like God. Is like the elected God, is like the firstborn God. And then God created us, like the rest of us, in his image. So we are like God. But since we came so far after all the important shit happened, we have to work. So really, you're like a demigod. But I still have the ability to like choose my destiny. And then you know, I still have the ability to like choose my destiny and choose my route in life. And you know, some people, man, are so fucking ignorant that when you make choices in life, you have to go in that direction. So to me, you know, um, life is all about choices, you know, so you make your choices and you have to basically go in that direction. And in success, as far as I've become successful, really is all about like how much are you willing to compromise? How much are you willing to sacrifice in order to succeed? You know, is like some people really are so fucking, to me is stupidity to think that money is enough of a reason to go to hell for all eternity. I have a shitload of money. I have so much fucking money, bro, that I forget sometimes that I'm even rich because money is only a prerequisite for success. Money does not, you can be successful in the financial arena. Success in money is only a prerequisite for success in whatever you choose to do besides money in your life. So pretty much, you know, money is only a prerequisite to live your life. And then unfortunately for me, but unfortunately for like everybody else, most people never see reach we success in money. So you never know what it's like to have like an abundant supply of money. So you think that rich people are out there like living the fucking dream when really, like, I'm pretty much the only rich person that you know that is like rich enough to be able to tell the whole story of money. Is like when you have like an abundant supply of money, like a rather infinite supply of money, which is not like 1 or 2 billion, like is like at least like 50 billion, you know, is like you know, then you get to do what you want. But then most people, if they ever do achieve like an infinite supply of money, like an infinite supply of money, there's not even really a such thing as an infinite supply of money. It's what are your standards? You know, what are your standards? My standards is like I don't want to be like a ruler of nations. I don't want to be like king of the world. I want to be like fucking rich enough to be able to afford my bodybuilding and to afford my dream house and to afford like investments to live freely. You know, I have like a few things that I'd like to have, like to always have like a new car of my choice. And it's like the whole thing of my life might cost like 500 million. You know, that's like my goal is to invest to like 500 million in the stock market and you know what I'm saying? I'd like to invest like 500 million in the stock market and just live off of that. Like passive income that I don't have to really manage um or keep up on so much. Um so yeah, my secret to success is to make whatever amount of money you need to invest into like an index fund or a mutual fund or like the S&P 500 is my favorite one. It offers and provides like a very low dividend compared to like the other index funds, but is like a sure bet. Go with the sure bet. You know, um, if I do some quick math, okay, 500 million times is 6 million a year. Is fucking $16,000 a day. I don't think I could possibly outspend that money in my lifetime. And it goes up with the cost of living. The interest on the stock goes up with the cost of living, and the dividend pays out like an average of $16,000 a day. So that's on like a bad day. So let's say times 1.5%. On a good day is like $21,000 a day. So that's pretty much my whole goal and ambition in life is to invest uh, you know 500 million into the S&P 500, and that's how I'll live my life. Starting like real soon, actually, because I'm going to be selling 25% of my company. So pretty much, yeah. If you think that this shit came easy, you're wrong. It did not come fast either. Keep in mind, I started my first business when I was 3 years old, before the internet was really a thing. And then getting in on this whole like creation of the internet is like the California gold rush, pretty much, is like fucking better than anything that we've had in the past 5,000 years besides like printing money. Pretty much when it comes to like printing money, the closest thing is like fucking the Rothschild family apparently already has that part like figured out. There's a god called Roth controls the money in this part of the universe. So we're pretty much fucked there. But you know, is like you know, all right. So I'm out of here, guys. Um, I mean, if you want to know what it's like to have a shitload of money, just imagine like what would you do if you had like infinite money? If you had a button that you could push and make like $1 million every time you push the button, or like $1 billion every time you push the button, would you just sit there and push the button constantly for eternity? Or would you push the button like a few times a day and then go out and like spend money and then push the button again a couple times the next day. Because for me, I just want to invest like my 500 million and live my life, you know. Is like I'm not too uh you know, is like I'm not too concerned with the outcome of my life because worst case scenario I get like a disability check because I'm schizo and I can't really work jobs. I've gotten fired from every job I've ever had. And you know, I just want to invest my fucking 500 million and live off of my $10,000 a day for like the rest of my life. And let's see. Here's the thing with money. Let me give you a secret when it comes to money. Uh, let's say when I invest 500 million times 1.1% is $15,000 a day, and then you got to pay taxes on that. So let's see, it's $15,000 a day. Would take 100 years to profit off of that money. But when you invest money, you basically just consider that money gone. Like the investment capital is gone. And then what you have left is the residual effect of that investment. That's like the kind of stuff that you can figure and figure out as you go along, figuring out how you're going to spend your life in business. So, pretty much, that's it. I will talk to you guys later. God bless you guys, and I will fucking be back with more videos. Is one of my passions in life is making videos. Is not like a passion, it's just like a habit that I have is making videos, and I really enjoy it. And you know, you know, that's how you know your passion before you know it's a passion is if you find yourself just like doing something like watching movies is a passion for some people. Apparently some people really love like Marvel movies. That's called a passion. It's not just like something that you like to do. It's like if you had like infinity money, like you would sit around and like read all the lore of all the Marvel movies and stuff. Or if you really like Pokemon, you would like collect every Pokemon card that was ever created. You know, I like it. I like having like the freedom to go and buy like if I want to buy like a fucking $1 million watch. How long would that take? Like 100 days to buy like a new like $1 million watch, cash money. You know, one of my favorite watches is the Bugatti watch by Jacob, I think. And these watches cost anywhere from $1 million. Is like a house that you wear on your wrist. I just want to have like an array of these watches of like every color. I really like this one. 396,000 would take what 30, 40, like 45 days for me to be able to buy this watch. Maybe 50 days. And this one is 2.5 million. So if I think about it, you know, if I just like look on this website to be able to see like I like this one too. 445,000. So like it's nice to be like in a position where I could buy like the things that I like, you know. Let's see. Well, I don't want no damn $12,000 watch. It's like nice to know that I could buy like if I see something that I like, I could buy it. You know, if I do like more than $1 billion over the course of my career, like cash money, we're talking like pretty much fucking I'm happy as fuck. You know, it's like when you fucking I can't go back to like my old fucking neighborhood. Most of my old neighborhoods that I lived in my adulthood, I can't like go back there wearing like a fucking $1 million watch. You know what I'm saying? Is like something that you only wear in the communities that you wind up in after you get rich. You know what I'm saying? So let me see. Jacob and Co. You know, yeah, like I like this one. It's kind of like a little bit like crappy for 748,000, but I might buy it. You know, I like this one. Astronomia Solar Constellations Rose Gold. 957,000. I like this one. 1.1 million. I'm like 396,000. I like this one right here. 1.9 million. If only I could share my screen with you guys right now. I'm recording this off of my default webcam app on my computer. The Godfather watch. I've seen this one before in like a YouTube video. 400,400. Um, ugh. They've also got like a lot of like, well, I guess are okay, but 28,000 for like a watch that looks like you can get it off of fucking Timu, but it's from Jacob and Company. I'd buy this watch. The Casino Tourbillon Pave. No. You know, the Godfather watch. You know, I like Scarface. Godfather was a good movie. I don't really remember too much, but too much of it. But I was probably high when I saw it the first time. The Billionaire 3 with emeralds is my birthstone. Is probably the one I would get. Like the green one and the red one. One crazy fucking thing is people find inspiration from me, and then they like pretend like they're fucking somehow better than me. Is like a glitch in their fucking mentality. Because I promise, whatever you think you know about me, if after you watch one of my videos, I know like, you know, 100,000 times more. Yeah. That's like And, you know, no, people are stupid. 80,000. I don't want no fucking God of Time. I'd buy that watch. Is like I like Jacob watches, but I've seen how they're made, and is like a thing is if you're gonna charge me for a watch, I want like the most fucking articulate put together watch that you could find like fucking ever. I want like not a grain of fucking sand or salt of like fucking miscare in the making of my watch. I've seen how they're made. They just kind of like they really do just kind of like slap them together. If I'm wearing a watch, I want to see like if I'm wearing like a fucking if it's like a fucking like Bugatti watch, I don't know how long Jacob has been around. 25. Well, this is. I'm really a big fan of a lot of the watches they make, though. So is like this is a pretty cool one. 616,000. This is this is nice right here. The emerald tourbillon baguette white gold. I was born in May, so and I want this one. I'm gonna save this in my bookmarks because I'm gonna fucking buy this shit. I'm gonna save this one and this Bugatti watch. Was this Bugatti Chiron? It's my birthstone. It's like the colors of money. It's like black and green and white. And I like this one. But there's rose gold on there, which I don't like. What's this? I like this one. It is like a roulette wheel astronomia casino rose gold. And I like just a big fan of Jacob watches. I'm gonna find the one that I saw earlier. I like the Jacob and Co. Casino. just gonna bookmark all the ones that I like. So when I sell my business, I'm gonna The Godfather. Oh, like this is the one. Titanium. I might buy this one for like one of my friends. $330,000. But then she might be stupid, so she might go out and like wear it in public. And then there was a girl that kind of like fucked me over a little bit. I might buy her like a $418,000 watch just to rub it in. Because that's not entirely a lot of money, you know. And we got the billionaire's watch for 5.5 million. You know, I suppose I could afford that just fine. It's just I don't know, you know. I don't know. It's a little bit gaudy if you ask me. But well, like I guess I'm a billionaire, but yeah, you know, it'd be nice to have in the collection. I probably wouldn't wear it though. You know, is like I don't really foresee a time anytime in like as I come from humble beginnings, you see. 682,000. I like this one more than I like the other one. Hmm. Well, if I like this one, I really like this one, but I don't want either. Maybe I like both. I don't know. I want someone else to have this one because it's really nice. They say it's in limited supply. Let's see, how many units do they have? I like this one. Like I like the rose gold one without the diamonds. Diamonds to me is like fucking like ugh. You know, like who says a diamond is like a perfect hardness? You know what I'm saying? Like says who? You know, as human technology can only measure like to certain depths. You know, That's what I like. I like the white gold with the diamonds, and then I like the probably buy this for like my son. You know, when I have my son, you know, um, I would buy this for my daughter. Let's see. Sorry for keeping you guys. I just want to watch. You know, I just want you to watch me shop for expensive shit. Let's see. Dude, I would only parme- parmesan. Apparently, they got some fucking expensive ass G-Shock watches. Like the same ones that you could buy on Amazon for like 20 bucks or 40 bucks. G-Shock. I don't like these. Sky Dweller, Rolex Sky Dweller. I would wear this watch. Let's see. Anyways, guys. Yeah, so always be expanding your education, be refining your methods, because we're talking to young entrepreneurs here where you know that the shit that we had around the digital space 20 years ago is no longer working today. The shit that we had on the digital space 20 years ago, 90% of that shit is dead today. You know, even like influencers that we used to love 15 years ago are like nowhere to be found today. Um, and you know, You know, fucking, you know, after 10 years of educating myself and refining my methods and figuring out what I really want to spend my time on, we tend to think it's like a fucking ladder system. That entrepreneurship is like a ladder system where like you start out small and then one day you build the big $1 billion company in like 25 or 30 years. But actually, I've come to find out that you should start working on the big $1 billion idea like right now, like right away. So that's the truth. And you know, whatever you're doing right now to make money might not be working in fucking 25 years. So always be building, you know, building outside of the space that you're currently working in so that you can have multiple methods of income. For me, like, I'm good. I made all the money that I need to really live my life. If I have an offer right now for $2 billion to slide across my table, I would take it as long as I get to keep a little bit of my company. And maybe I'll be the CEO. Because I had my business plan valued at like 17 billion. So anyone who offers me, you know, 2 billion for like like a major stake in my company, you can have it, but you know, pretty much, you know, that's realizing that I get to keep like pretty much a controlling stake in the company. So that's the deal. I'll talk to you guys later. I am selling shares of my company. If you want to inquire about it, email me or leave a comment or inquire at I will leave a comment with your let me see. I'll leave my email address in the description of this video so you could email me about the acquisition. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.